Okay, fourth graders. So you just practiced how to find the LCM, the least common multiple. Now we're going to use that least common multiple to find equivalent fractions that have common denominators. That's a whole lot of words, but truly you actually already know what they mean. So we're going to use the LCM, the least common multiple. We're going to use it to find common denominators in equivalent fractions. So remember, common denominators are when you have two fractions that have the same denominator. Like, for example, 4/5 and 3/5 have a common denominator. They're both fifths. So 4/5 and 3/5 have a common denominator. Okay, because they're both fifths. What we're going to do is we're going to use the LCM to make equivalent fractions. Let's look at how we do that. So, in the last part of this lesson, we learned how to find the LCM. So, if I'm going to compare the fractions 2/3 and 3/4, the first thing I'm going to do is find the LCM of the denominators. So remember, my denominator is what's on the bottom. So I got started before I started the video. I listed the multiples, just like we did in the last part. I circled the common ones, and now I'm going to box the least. So my LCM here is 12. So the first part was to find the LCM of the two denominators. Pause and make sure you have this all written down. Now that I know the LCM is 12, I'm going to make new fractions that have a denominator of 12. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create new fractions that are equivalent to my original fractions, and these fractions will have 12 on the bottom. Pause and write this down. So to review, I found the LCM of 3 and 4. I rewrote my fractions with a new denominator, which is the LCM. Do you see how I'm making both of the fractions have a 12 on the bottom? That's because it's the least common multiple. The next part is to figure out the multiplier. That's a big tricky word that just means what we multiply by. 3 times what equals 12. Now, if you know your math facts, like Mrs. Harrison and Miss Zimmerman and I have been drilling into you, you know 3 times 4 equals 12. If you don't know your math facts, you can also go back to the list and you can go to your threes list and you can count 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the fourth multiple in the list. So that makes that the multiplier. I have to multiply the numerator by the same number. So if I multiply by 4, I've got to multiply by 4 on top. What is 2 times 4? It's 8. So now I've made a new fraction equivalent to 2/3. It is 8/12. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I have to find the multiplier. In this case, it's not 4. 4 times 4 is not 12. 4 times 3 is 12. So now I have to have the same number up here on the top. 3 times 3 is 9. So now I have my two new fractions, 8/12 and 9/12. The multiplier is what I multiply the denominator by to get the LCM. 4 times 3 equals 12. 3 times 4 equals 12. And I know that some of you see that this number is this multiplier and this number is this multiplier. That's not always the case. It just is in this problem. Okay, so now I have made my two fractions. Pause and copy that. So after I did it, I have two new fractions, 8/12 and 9/12, and I'm going to compare those. 8/12 is less than 9/12. So 2/3 is less than 3/4. Pause and write that down. I compared the new fractions that were easy to compare because they had the same denominator. And whatever that comparison is true of the original numbers or the original fractions. Pause and write it down. So our steps were: find the LCM, make it the new denominator. You should be writing this. Find the multiplier. For each. I guess it's different on both fractions. Multiply the numerator. And step 5 is compare. Pause and make sure you have this written down, because I'm going into practice now and I want you to be able to use these notes. Pause and copy. Okay, so my first step is to find the LCM. So I'm going to list them out. 6, 12, 18, 24, ooh, my nose is running, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60, 7, 14, 21, 28, oops, bloop, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, 70. Find the least common. It is 42. So that's my new denominator. Step 3, find the multipliers. 7 times what is 42? If I don't know, I can go to the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means I gotta multiply the top by 6. That's 30. Okay, find the multiplier. If I don't know, I can go to the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 times 7 is 28. Next step, compare the new fractions. 28 42 is less than 30 42. So 4/6 is less than 5/7. I listed. I created new fractions. I found the multiplier and multiplied the numerator. Then I compared. It feels like a ton of steps, but it's not something that you can't do. It just takes practice. Let's do another one. 2/9, 1/3. Step 1 is list the multiples, find the LCM. Pause and do it now. So I figured it out, and I hope you did too. The LCM here is 9. So I don't really have to do anything with this top fraction. I can just leave it as 9ths. I've got to get my third to be 9ths. So I got to figure out the multiplier. 3 times what equals 9? If I don't know, I can count. 1, 2, 3. So multiply the top by 3 because they have to multiply by the same thing. 1 times 3 is 3. So now compare. 2/9 is less than 3/9. Therefore, 1/3 is less than 2/9. This is my new fractions with the common denominator. I'm going to put common denominator. These are my original fractions with different denominators. By making common denominators, it's easy to compare. I think we're going to do one more. Okay. Same thing. Pause and find the LCM. Okay. So I found that it was 35. 5 times what is 35? 5 times 7 is. So do the same thing up here. 2 times 7 is 14. Okay. 7 times 5 is 35. 3 times 5 is 15. So here's what I found out. I found out that 14/35 is less than 15/35. So 2/5 is less than 3/7. Okay, here's what you're gonna do. Another nice short video, only 11-ish minutes. You're gonna go do some practice, and then there's gonna be one more lesson after this for this week. Off you go to practice.